Hello everyone, and welcome back to class. This week I'm really excited to talk to you about a new topic that allows us to better understand our geologic narrative, or how do we interpret our geosphere and its dynamic nature. So as I was driving on my way to work, I noticed this outcrop. This outcrop can be observed at the junction of 93, just before you go off to Kitzmiller or towards the corridor. This outcrop, I've identified it as some sandstone over here, and then it slowly beds upwards into more dense, dark-colored limestones. But the layering of this rock and how it's tilted gives us insight on the concept that our geosphere is dynamic. Over the last few weeks, we learned that our planet is constantly in motion, and that earthquakes and volcanoes are an example of this dynamic motion, but also the tilting and folding and bending and breaking of different rock strata or beds is also a side effect that shows us our geosphere is in motion. So, typically in earth science, we use a couple principles on how we can take rock outcrops such as this and reconstruct them so we can see what exactly is going on. The first rule is that of superposition. The oldest rocks are going to be laid down first, and then you get progressively younger. So using the example of the sandstone over here, we can assume that those might actually be the older beds, but in closer examination, that might not be true. We can actually go and look at these limestones and see how they're tilted. And some of the thicker beds might have actually been first. Then, as we move toward pan to the left, we get progressively younger. The principle of original horizontality also tells us that all geologic beds have to be deposited in a horizontal bedding plane, meaning that they're sideways. So this outcrop actually does follow that pattern, where all the beds are in a horizontal position. So we can actually ask ourselves that this upturned bed or outcrop may have actually been deposited horizontally, and then with the influence of plate tectonics and mountain building processes that are common and ongoing out here in the Appalachians, that maybe geologic forces deep underground that we cannot observe directly may have caused these beds to tilt or strike in that general direction, and then cause them to dip as the sandstone then becomes deposited, filling in the gaps. This week's unit is all about observations and putting the puzzle of Earth's history together before we investigate it into better understanding deep time. Because geologic time can be distorted if we don't properly understand how the behavior of these rocks move. So here is another wonderful and awesome rock outcrop that is exposed along the corridor that connects to 93. And this is one of the field trip sites that you may encounter
As you see me panning, there's a wonderful anticline leading into a syncline. These geologic structures tell us that rocks can also be very malleable, meaning that they are bending underneath geologic stress and strain, put forth by the after effects of plate tectonic movement and the changes that are going on in our dynamic geosphere. Understanding these processes conceptually helps us connect to a physical model. This rock outcrop is found, again, along the corridor at the border of Hardy and Grant counties. And thanks to weathering and erosion processes, we can see it exposed on both sides. And so the rock layers that you're seeing right here correlate to across the highway. And understanding structural geology allows us to better understand what is going on our dynamic planet and why we have changes in elevation.
In lecture and lab, we're going to actually have a lot more active learning involved. We are going to go out in the field. I'm going to have small field trip related exercises where you're going to go out and try to find outcrops like these and then take some field notes and hypothesize or make educated guesses on how these rocks become tilted and maybe attempt to reconstruct some of the local paleo environments that may have formed before these rocks have become tilted. All right, so if you have any questions, please reach out either through email, Zoom, or you can even swing by in person. And I will be happy to help and walk you through some of these exercises. All right, good luck and let's rock on.